Welcome back into another episode of George in the Jungle, presented as always by Remington Tavern, coming at you live from the Cincy Light Studios. Remington Tavern can be found at 8892 Glendale Milford Road, 45140, where they have their daily happy hour 3 to 7 p.m. $5 bourbon whiskey Wednesdays, bottle cap bonanza Thursdays from 7 to 9 p.m. You can check them out on Instagram at Remitav Cincy. That's REMITAV Cincy with a Y, or follow them on Facebook. While you're there, be sure to grab yourself an ice cold Cincy Light on tap, in a can, however you want to drink it. They got it there for you. Support those who support us, and help bring some talent back to Clifton. That all said, George. Hey, there you go. Me too.
You know how much of this I have drank over the past month?
I'm sure somebody out there thanks you, whether it's Rheingeist or the athletic department. Somebody over there in the Lindner Center, I'm sure appreciates it.
Yeah, I'm sure they do. Hopefully I get my $5 rebate for this latest 12-pack I bought. Did you see that?
They got it out here in Athens too, yeah.
Isn't that crazy? I don't know how it works. I uploaded my stuff. I don't think I've seen anything yet, but I just did it yesterday.
Because most people don't actually do it. They see it, they buy it because it has that, and then they don't actually do it.
Last week, and I forgot. I ditched my receipt, but this time we'll see. That's crap old people do. We pay attention to that stuff. But no, I drank so much. I mean, these teams are driving me crazy. That's why I'm drinking so much of this stuff.
You've had plenty of reason.
Yes. I mean, maybe that's, part of the deal. Have just drive your fans nuts so they drink more of this stuff, and then they can afford better players, right? Is that the goal?
Sure. I'm sure that's somewhere in the goal state.
I would feel a hell of a lot better if that was the plan.
Well, let's start out in one of those losses that drove you a little crazy. 45-23 is your final. TCU upends the Bearcats in a game where you had to play perfect. You did not create turnovers once again. You had an opportunity in the end zone. You tried. You, instead of recovering the fumble or even just simply knocking it out of the back of the end zone, either way, it would have resulted in the same thing. But instead, TCU recovers, gets 6, and Cincinnati is left with a big old goose egg again in the turnover department.
Yeah, that was a backbreaker there. I mean, because especially when you go with the end of the first. Again, here we are at the end of the first half, right? And because UC took the ball first, and the reasonings Coach Satterfield gave for them taking the ball to begin the game were very sound. They knew that weather was moving in. They didn't know what the field would be like afterwards. They felt like it might just turn into a, defensive slog after that storm came through. But they couldn't do anything with the ball. And then, late in the first half, you're down 7 and they're on the march, and they go on a pretty impressive march. 75 yards, 9 plays. Of course, the defense couldn't get off the field. They score with about 30 seconds left or whatever in the half, then get the ball back in the second half, and comes another march down the field. That was 8 plays, 75 yards, and that fumble you talk about where 3 Bearcats had a shot at it and couldn't corral
at least.
Yeah. And you go down 21 at that point. You're down 7. The last time your offense had the ball and a chance really to do anything. And now you're down 21 and, it's in the third quarter. And they just, you go down 21-7 in the first quarter. And that's where, trouble started. But it just didn't let up. They still had a chance there in that late second quarter, early third to make something happen and get back in it. And they just, again, didn't do it. And, I mean, the defense just, again, it's the same old song and dance, can't get off the field. I mean, I've had it watching these teams run through that defense the way they do.
It's frustrating. You don't know. I know that, Chad has talked plenty about you have to fix it, starting with your defensive line, and the 3-5. You can run different different schemes out of it. I'm at this point, I'm out on it. It's hard for me to defend it at this point. I feel like you can probably do a little bit better out of a
You probably
4-3.
know where I am on it.
Well, out of a 4-3 or a 4-2-5, kind of slipping into a nickel package there. I mean, you could still do stuff with 5 defensive backs, but if you're going to run 5 defensive backs, I feel like you have to have some semblance of good defensive backs. And
Yeah,
right now, I don't feel like you've seen that. Right now, it felt like I brought it up, and I know that Jeff on the brunch on Sunday morning kind of reiterated it, but I brought it up in the aftermath after this game. It just felt like they were running prevent defense the entire season with guys just playing with that much of a cushion, just running prevent, not letting anything go over the top, and they didn't, but they picked you apart up and down the field, going for it on 4th down more than against any other team in the entire country when all was said and done at the end of the season. And that's because you gave them every reason to. When you're playing, 4 to 7, 5 to 7 yards off every down, whether it's 3rd down and 4, 4th down and 2, you're still giving them that type of cushion. Why wouldn't you go for it on 3rd and 4th down all the time?
Yeah, it was maddening, and then that typifies pretty much the last half of the season with this defense. Even though it wasn't great at the beginning of the year, they never did force turnovers. They were probably I was looking up some stuff today, and I mean, my God, 9 turnovers they came up with the entire season. Like that's
terrible.
Only 6 teams in the bowl subdivision had less than the 9 you see, which is hard to believe. Somebody only had 6. I forget who, but none of them had good seasons. And if you have a defense, it's not turning the ball over and also not forcing the opposing offense, to take a step back. There's no sacks. There's no negative plays for opposing offenses. They're always, 3rd and 4 is like a big deal for you. That's about as bad as it gets for an opposing offense against this defense. There's no negative plays for the offenses, and you never put anybody in a hole. And if you do, it seems like there's some untimely penalty that lets them out of that hole or creates an automatic 1st down. It was a bad year for that defense, and it's not like the offense was glowing the entire season, but this was just a colossal failure by the defense.
And next season, as far as that defense goes, you're losing a lot of pieces. You're losing Logan Wilson. You're losing Matthew McDoom, Jake Golday, Dante Corleone, Jack Dingle, an awful lot of guys that either started or spelled a lot of time there on that defense. And I don't know.
Yeah, it's like 14 starters on both sides of the ball be gone, with eligibility. Done with eligibility. That's, when you see the kind of season they have, and then you hear that number that really only 8 of the 22 are coming back or may come back. That's a hell of an assumption in this day and age.
I was going to say that's not counting
less than 8.
Not counting anybody hopping into the portal. So we'll see how that all goes. But something's got to give as far as this defense goes, because I don't know that you can just bank on getting enough guys to make a difference next season on both your defensive line and your secondary. To where you're seeing a difference. So you have to change something schematically, in my opinion. And if
I'm right there with you. I can't take this 3-man front anymore, and that's all it was too. It wasn't like, there were some games they brought a little more there, but it was generally a 3-man front that was just a flat 3-man rush in any situation when the opposing quarterback would drop back. So if your DBs are already kind of not the best in coverage, and now they're going to have all day they have to cover, you're going to get your butt kicked. And that's, they gave up 544 yards on Saturday night. Now 238 on the ground. That was discouraging too.
If you had given that up being aggressive, I think I would have been okay with it.
Yeah.
If you had done so in trying to scheme up blitzes or trying to stack the box or trying to jump a route for an interception, any of these things, I think I would have been okay with it. But like the Christian Harrison tipped pass, what was it, a couple weeks ago against maybe Arizona, where he hits the pass and it still gets into the hands of the receiver and he goes deep on you. I wasn't mad at Christian Harrison on that play. Yes,
No.
I want you to come up with the interception, sure,
Right.
but you made a play on the ball that we didn't really see anybody do most of the season.
No.
I wanted to see more of that, not just this cushion, and we have to tackle you after a 4-yard gain, a 5-yard gain. In this game, TCU averages, I think 7 yards, 7.6 yards per play. No, 7.4 yards per play. That's a lot of yards per play.
And I still feel like the way they play it is just way too, you use the word soft. It's soft coverage. It's also, it's passive. It's almost conceding the catch to make sure you make the tackle. So there's like given that space, and instead of getting up to the receiver, while the quarterback's throwing it there, or it's like they waited till the quarterback threw and then reacted. And by then you're not going to create a turnover unless you force a fumble. But, it does give you better position to make the tackle. But what good does that do when you're giving up 8, 10, 7, 8, 10, 7? You never stop them. You never get off the field, and this defense didn't. And I don't know if I see that and you see that. I don't know why we, continued to see the same things week after week with the defense. And I really was a big believer in Tyson Vite when he came in, and that everything I could look up and research about the guy screams football coach. But I don't know what the hell's going on there, but I didn't like what I saw.
I can't imagine that there's any more conversations that you can have with him in the offseason that didn't happen during the season about you need to figure out how to close your coverage early in the play, or I don't get more aggressive on trying to get to the quarterback, find ways to get to the quarterback, stack the box, anything, everything, try something. It didn't feel like we saw much of anything.
And go back a week with BYU and the end of that game, and there was no stacking the box or anything, and that kid just ran down the field, 8 yards a pop. It just I don't understand what's going on. It's what good does it do to sit back in that kind of defense when it's not working, but you keep doing it? I know it's. My guess is it's probably more personnel than the other, but that scheme did not show me a hell of a lot this year. I can tell you that.
Well, and if it is coming down to both scheme and personnel, because it felt like to me it's probably some mixture of both, a little of this, a little of that, then you've got to figure out how to make a change. And
that's how you end up giving up 544 yards at TCU on Saturday night.
While we know that, I guess in all estimation at this point, you have to figure that Cincinnati can't afford to fire a coach for the football team, a coach for the basketball team in the same calendar year. Then you'd have to figure that right now you're probably looking, as Cincinnati is a basketball school, then you have to assume that they're probably waiting to see what happens with Wes Miller, which means you're probably giving Coach Satterfield another season. So if you're coaching for your job next year and you're Coach Satterfield and you want to talk about in your last presser in the regular season, talking about that you've improved every year, that you're going into next season, not as a lame duck, but as at least a guy on the warm seat.
Very warm, in my opinion.
You've got to figure out how to make a change. And if you're coaching for your life at this school, do you really want to put that in the hands of Tyson Vite? That's a question you have to ask yourself in the offseason, and probably sooner than later, as you're entering into the coaching carousel already and you're seeing guys taking jobs and moving around already. So I'd be figuring that out real soon.
Yeah, I think they need to, and I think they better have their eyes open. But you're right. I mean, if you look at the situation the university's in, and they're probably not going to pay both buyouts. So yes, you I think the more dire situation is with the basketball program, in my opinion. But I see where Satterfield's coming from, where it's like, okay, we went from 3 wins to 5 to 7. We made the transition to the Big 12, all that. But it's also who you beat and when you beat them and what you look like down the stretch in the season when you're supposed to be getting better. And November has not been kind to Scott Satterfield in Cincinnati.
Not even a little. Well,
Right. And that's a problem. That is a problem. When you go into that last stretch, I mean, a month ago, they're in the college football playoff rankings. And then you go into this stretch and it's, you pretty much lay egg after egg and don't win any of them. And so, then you go back and start looking at the teams they did beat this year. And yes, okay, maybe they are I guess I could say they're average for a Big 12 team, but certainly not above average.
Well, I'm looking at who you have coming back next year right now. If everybody came back on roster, who's on an NFL watch list next season compared to the roster that you just put together? So right now, I don't know that anybody's on an NFL watch list.
Yeah, I don't either.
If that's the case, George, how do you have any confidence that you're going to improve from 7 wins if you bring back the same defensive coordinator with the same defensive scheme and the personnel that you have right now? Sure, you're going to find people in the transfer portal. I get that. But are you going to bring in enough guys from the transfer portal that make you feel like this roster up and down is better next season compared to this season, is going to get you continuing to improve on that 7 wins next season? Are you going to get to 8? Are you going to get to 9 with the guys that you bring in from a portal that don't know the culture here coming in right away, that don't know what it is to be a Bearcat, and you don't have leaders next season like a Joe Royer, like a Gavin Gerhardt, maybe not even a Brendan Sorsby, to try and show them what's going on?
Yeah, I when you put it like that, it does look dire. And if I had to sit here right now and pick over or under 7 wins next year, I'd be going under. But I don't know who's on the team. And so we'll see what they grab out of the portal, because you do have plenty of time to work with these guys and get ready. And my God, after spring ball and fall camp, you should have everybody on the same page on what you're doing in each situation. That should be enough time and enough practices to get it together. But yeah, it's going to be changes all over the place. And I would not be opposed to them looking just for a wholesale change on defense, because this thing just flat didn't work.
Like I said, if you are coaching for your life at Cincinnati, are you willing to put that life in Tyson Vite's hands? And if it's me, I don't think I can.
Yeah, I don't think I can either, based on how things played out this year. It just, and you're right. That's you look at the number of seniors that started on that defense, and the results you got is not good. And whether that's, the coach, the scheme, the players, probably a combination of everything, you can't keep doing the same thing. You got to make it, and it's a hell of a lot easier to change your coach and your scheme. And maybe, I don't know. I just feel like this freaking 3-man front crap has served its purpose, and it's time to get, as I said Saturday night, 4 knuckle-dragging a-holes that like to kill people on your defensive line. Now, they don't come cheap. You got to figure a way to do it, but I want 4 guys breathing fire on that defensive line. I'm sorry. They got beat on the edge so many times, and that's not necessarily your defensive line, but it is scheme, and these guys just did not set the edge at all, and it drove me nuts. It drove me nuts, and they've got to do something about it. And I hate seeing people get fired, but God damn it, they're in this thing to win games. So, if you have to, you have to.
Whatever you do, I hope you do it in enough time to where you're not putting whoever the next DC is in the same position that Tyson Vite was in, where it's after the portal has closed and you missed that window, so you're stuck with whatever they got you in the cabinet, and it's not necessarily the guys that or even schemed for what it is that you're trying to do.
Right.
So we'll see what happens.
It's the old square peg round hole thing that
it
never works. It never works. But Yeah, you see the question there is Satterfield tanking November to keep the Barlow in for improvement? I don't think so, but it's a funny thought.
Jared's one of our regulars around here.
It's a funny thought.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah, we don't want to put 9 or 10 wins on the board because next year we're going to really look bad if we do that. I don't think they could have done that no matter what. I saw the games. They just weren't good enough, and that's the bottom line, and that's why hopefully they end up in that bowl game in Phoenix, because I don't know what else they're going to end up in, and have a pretty good opponent there. But what a disappointment it's been.
Yeah, I saw
where they were a month ago.
I saw something that had them against East Carolina, and to go back to playing the American.
That's what I'm worried about. I'd much rather be in that other bowl against somebody I've heard of, and I've heard of East Carolina, but you're right. That just feels like a step back in time.
Yeah. Not a good thing. In any case, let's go from bad to worse, because we don't hate ourselves enough around here. Eastern Michigan beats the Bearcats, their first win against a Power 4 opponent since 2014, George. 64-56 in a game the Bearcats never won, or I'm sorry, never led.
No.
Day Thomas, your high scorer here in this one, 17. Buck Harris, the next guy with 12. Mustafa Cham, not great in a game that you didn't have Baba Miller. He finishes with 8 points, 2 rebounds. Then against Tarleton State last night, Bearcats win 76-58, only up 2 at halftime. Your leading scorers in that one, Kirk Kriesa grabs 20. Day with 19, Baba with 13, Abayev with 10. Baba puts in a double-double his first game back with 13 and 11. But Mustafa Cham, no points, 3 rebounds in this one. Are you getting concerned with what Mustafa Cham, much ballyhooed Mustafa Cham? Can't imagine he came here cheap, Mustafa Cham. Comes here with his big man coach from UCF, Mustafa Cham. Are you getting concerned yet with how he's?
Yeah, I'm concerned. I mean, last night, for God's sakes, you would think he could be dominant in a game.
One shot.
Yeah, you would think he could be dominant in a game like that. And which is it? They're not getting him the ball, or he's not getting in position to get the ball. Probably both on that. But here's my thing on that. Don't you, as a coach, at some point in the huddle, say, damn it, on this play, we're doing this, and we're getting this ball down to this guy down low, and let him go to work with it? Why did that never happen? Or if he did say that and it didn't happen, then what's going on here? I think at some point, they're going to live and die by the 3. That's what it looks like to me. It just looks like it's total live and die by the 3, which I can't stand, because there's too many nights you're not shooting the 3 that well. You got to have a way. When you got a guy, I mean, if you're going to do that, then why bring this guy in? Like, why have this big aircraft carrier in there that does nothing?
It's a great point. You had 36 3-pointers last night on 56 shots. So you only took 22s.
22-point shots and 36 from beyond the arc.
And you end up in.
I mean, this isn't like you're playing a team with a dominant inside game. I mean, that number 24 is guarding Cham most of the time. And it's like, he looked like he could have picked him up and stuffed him in the basket. So I don't know why there was no emphasis or attempt to establish something inside in that game.
Well, and Tyler McKinley, he's a guy filling in for Mustafa Cham. He only finishes with 2 points on 1 of 2 shots there, only 4 rebounds, although he only had 16 minutes. Now, Cham had 22, but together combined, you have 7 rebounds, 2 points on 2 of 3 shooting. Now, Cham did he was really good defensively. 4 blocks, 1 steal. Got to be happy with that. But he also had 4 fouls, 3 turnovers. None of that's great.
No. And a couple of those blocks were the one block he didn't even leave his feet. He just stuck his arm.
Took it.
Poor kid was stuck underneath the basket.
That might have been the steal, George. That might have been the steal, not the block.
It may have been. You're right. It may have been. But and some of the stuff, and Wes said after the game, he saw some of the stuff they worked on offensively, but I just think you're playing with fire if you're going to, and maybe against the Big 12 competition, they're going to have to rely on that 3-ball more. They're going to see some really, really talented teams, and it's going to be tough maybe to stay up with them without that. But I'm not sure this is the way to go. And if you go that way, I'm not sure how Chom, fits all of that with the way they're playing it now, because it just looks like there's no concerted effort to get anything going inside. I was pleased. There were a couple ill-advised shots by Sean last night, but I thought he was better. He was more active. He was rebounding. He's doing things other than just launching threes when somebody throws it to him. I still think he's going to be a pretty good driver to the bucket and be able to draw fouls and finish in there. And hopefully we get more and more of that as it goes on, instead of him just launching fadeaway threes from long range.
Trying to draw the foul too. I wish he'd kind of get away from some of that because
there's been too much of that.
I think the book's out on what he's trying to do, and the referees just aren't even paying attention to it anymore.
Right.
That all said, I don't know. I mean, I feel like this team played most comfortably so far in this young season. In 8 games, they played most comfortably when they were trying to do the things that they were talking about being the identity of this team, which is a quick style of play, trying to get a shot up early in the shot clock and just kind of run. And
right.
it feels like they've gotten away from that. It feels like they've slowed down. It doesn't feel like they have an identity right now outside of just hurling threes all day long, trying to scheme for the open three, which is fine, I guess, if that's what you want your identity to be. But when Wes comes out in a presser early on in the season, says this is going to be our identity, it's not going to look pretty for a little while, but we're not going to get away from it. It looks like you've gotten away from it. It doesn't look like there's really any. I know that he's seeing what he wants to see offensively. What I'm seeing doesn't look like much of anything.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And I think there were moments last night where they moved it well and did some, but they wasn't enough of that. And that's what
they got away from it. Yes.
Yeah. That's what they need to do. And look, they got some really wide open looks for 3 last night. And that's probably one reason Kerr had 20 points is he had some really good open, clean looks. And then, Thomas, he made like 3 in a row at one point, I believe. So, it was good to start the second half the way they did too, with, Thomas taking over there for a little bit to give him some breathing room. I mean, it's hard to sit here and think that they lost to Eastern Michigan and then come back and they're only up 2 at the half against Carleton, but that's what it was.
You had 21 turnovers in this game, George.
21. I've been on that from day one, and I cannot stand the way they throw the ball around. And I know Miller had 7 last night, and his first game back. La-di-da, some of it was careless. I'm not buying the whole thing that some guy who sits out a week, he is hurt, but is going to come in, and I'm not expecting 7 turnovers out of anybody. If the dude just got out of a hospital bed with 2 broken legs, I wouldn't expect 7 turnovers, nor would I accept it. And it sounded like he accepted it.
Your guys that play the 4 and the 5 between Baba, Mustafa Cham, Tyler McKinley, and Jalen Celestine combine for 13 of those 21 turnovers.
Yeah, that's ugly. And those are guys that, shouldn't be really handling the ball in situations where maybe there's going to be now they're all going to make turnovers. They are.
Sure. But
it's not like they're driving down the court and throwing crazy passes or something. I mean, these,
At one point you did have Baba and Tom running a fast break.
Yes, you did. Yes, you
and
did.
It didn't go. It went about as well as you could expect.
Right. The turnover thing has driven me nuts from day one. And if you look, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but if you look at, the assist to turnover ratio for this team is abysmal. Goods like one, and last night contributed. They had like 16 assists last night and 21 turnovers, somewhere in that neighborhood. So, they were top heavy in turnovers, and there's been a few games like that. So that's killed them. But this team they're going to be playing on Friday night is the opposite. They have way more assists and turnovers. They're almost at 2-1. And the 2-1 is really, really good. And UC's about, barely a little more than half that. So that really concerns me going forward where they are in that department, because, teams that protect the ball and are efficient and have a lot of assists and not a lot of turnovers, you look at the teams with that ratio and the ones that are at the top, and they're all pretty damn good. And you look at the teams the other way, and they're the ones you see hanging around, the bottom of the rankings. It's just they've got to do a better job of that. And do I expect it now? I don't know. I mean, it's been that way since they took the court for their first few games. I was bitching about turnovers.
Yeah, it's caught up with them, certainly. In the chat here, is the offense. Is this the offense that was supposed to run through Slime? When Slime went down, they said it was a huge loss since a lot was schemed to him, but now the 5 gets no action. Look, I don't know what kind of we don't know. We were told we were going to run fast and we were going to run as far as the offense went. I don't think we're seeing that anymore. I think we're seeing everything slow down quite a bit. You're running a lot of screens and what have you, but trying to find like some backdoor cuts and things, but it feels very different when Baba Miller is out there and not out there. And when he's not out there, I don't know if they have an identity whatsoever.
And he didn't have his best game last night, but I still, I'd much rather have him out there. And who knows? It could have been another EMU if he wasn't out there last night.
I don't disagree.
I know. It's just, I shudder to think that, but
as you look ahead a little bit, obviously you have the crosstown shootout on Friday. Then you've got Georgia after a week off. You've got Georgia on the 13th. You've got Alabama State on the 17th. You've got Clemson on the 21st, and then you've got Lipscomb on the 29th. And then you're done with non-con. It feels to me, George, that we've wasted the non-con. You have these bye games that it doesn't feel like you're trying things differently. It just feels like you're almost running through the motions. These feel more almost exhibitions that you just expect to win as opposed to games that you're trying to win. Obviously, you didn't win against EMU, and now you're here at the end where you have 3 games against anywhere from mid-majors to majors, and you've got 2 against bye games. You don't have much time to try and figure out who you are before you get to conference play.
Right, and I don't know who they are. I have no idea who they are. And I feel like when they lock down on defense and I honest to God, I feel like when they do a little more full court pressure and stuff is when they start to really look like they're doing something. And I don't feel like I've seen enough of that. I don't know what they are. I have no idea. And you're right. Here we are, however many games in, and the conference schedule's coming right up. And I don't know what they are. I don't know what their identity is. I don't know what they can hang their hat on. I don't know. I mean, I guess their go-to guy is Baba, but after that, Day, and then you got, I'm not sure what you have when it comes offensively.
When we've seen flashes from Abaya. We've seen, truthfully, probably more flash from Buck Harris than most guys on your roster. Right. Last night, Kerr Kriisa finally gets some shots to fall. He's playing far worse than the back of his basketball card at this point. But I don't know what's going on. You don't have a whole lot of time to figure it out, and it makes me very nervous because I think I told Chad last night I have two hands full of red flags at this point, and I don't know. I have more questions at this point going into the final 5 games here of non-con than I had at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, I would say I'm in that boat too. I wasn't sure what they had before the season, but I felt pretty good they had more talent than what we've seen, and certainly much deeper than what we've seen. But that hasn't translated into solid play, and you know where that rests. That rests right with the head coach. That's where that rests. And he's got to figure this thing out, because if not, I just based on the whole body of work, and even if he sneaks into the tournament, I'm still not sure he's safe. And that Eastern Michigan loss, if you're on the bubble and they're breaking down teams in that, and you lost that game, now other teams have them too, but that's a bad one at home. That's one where you look at, and it gives the committee a reason to say, you know what, if they couldn't beat Eastern Michigan at home, they don't belong in this thing.
You just have to hope that at this point, you have to hope that you have a great showing against a trending X on Friday, as you're both trending. You're just trending in different directions. You have to.
2.5 weeks ago, it looked like that might be a rout. Now it could be the other way.
You have to hope that they can figure some things out against both Georgia and Clemson at this point, because right now I don't feel confident about either of those games. And don't drop another one to one of these bye teams.
Yeah. It's baffling. And the Big 12 is loaded this year, as you well know, and the talent that some of these teams have is
every year.
Yeah. I mean, you can just go right down the list, and it's going to be hard for them to dig out a lot of wins in conference play based on what we've seen. It's just not there.
Well, like you said, George, this team's loaded with talent themselves, and right now they can't get out of their own way.
Well, you hope Creasa is finding it. That would be a godsend if he can start shooting it a lot better. Thomas has been trending that way for a while. I mean, you go to the second half of last year, he started shooting the three really well. And, he had like 2 or 3 really bad games in the second half. But other than that, he shot it great last year in the second half. And that's carried over to this year. I mean, if I would have hoped for this, but he has been probably, I would say without a doubt, my biggest pleasant surprise on this team.
Well, let's switch gears and talk about another pleasant surprise, George. Joe Burrow was back on Thursday night, which seems, God, that game feels like a week and a half ago.
It really does.
But the Cincinnati Bengals beat conference foe, the Baltimore Ravens, 32-14 in Baltimore. Joe Burrow, 24-46 in this one, 261, 2 touchdowns. The running game keeps it going as they finish with 128 on 33, good enough for 3.9 per carry, not horrendous. Jamar Chase has over 100 yards, no surprise there. No T. Higgins in this one as he was out. No Trey Hendrickson in this one. He was out. We'll get more to that in a little bit here. But simply having Joe Burrow back inspires the defense to play out of their minds, at least for a half. For a half, they looked as good as any defense in the NFL. The second half, it was a little different. But to turn over Lamar Jackson, now granted, he's not been 100% pretty much all season.
Right.
He plays this one in a game where he sat out practice this week, but last week, I guess, at this point. But he turns it over 5 times. 5.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Against this Bengals defense.
I was stunned. It's like, who are these guys? Like, Joe Burrow doesn't play defense. I expected the Bengals to be better with Joe back, but I didn't know he was going to inspire the defense to get 5 takeaways, which if you in the NFL and in any level of football, you get 5 turnovers, you better win the damn game. But to the Bengals' credit, they forced a lot of that stuff. Joseph Osai has 2 sacks. Jackson wasn't comfortable the entire game. Jordan Battle makes that great play on Isaiah Likely. I mean, it would have been that kid hustled his butt off and swipes in there and gets a piece, and that ball juggles before the goal line. That was a touchdown for the Ravens. And not only did he save a touchdown, the Bengals get the ball for one of those. That was just a tremendous play. I was in shock watching how they're now. The Ravens have not been right all year offensively. They've been very clunky. If you would have told me after Derrick Henry's 28-yard touchdown that he was only going to carry the ball like 7 more times, something like that. 6 more.
He ended up with 10 for 60. 10 for 60,
yeah. Outside of that touchdown run, they did a pretty good job on him. He had a couple more where he may have gotten 8 or 9, but the other, 7 runs, they did a nice job there. I just thought the Ravens kind of panicked a little bit, which is fine with me. They didn't play well, but the Bengals did, and the Bengals defense, my God, teams have that when you're having a bad year. Every now and then, your defense, if it's been struggling the whole year, will jump up and have a game like this where they get a lot of turnovers. It's happened time and time again in the NFL, and the time I've been watching the Bengals, which has been forever. Sometimes these games just happen. However, you look at Burrow being back, and while his completion percentage probably wasn't what he would like, I thought he played a really good game for being a guy who hadn't played since September. I mean, that dude looked ready to play football and ready to play quarterback. He's just so damn good. And now, they're 2 games back, 5 to go. It's impossible to grab a playoff spot, probably, but it's got my interest again.
Early on in the game, Joe Burrow was quick release. I wonder how much of that was watching what Joe Flacco did and getting rid of the ball quickly before anybody can get to you. It seemed like he was maybe he just was trying to ease into the game and not get hit. I don't really know. He did have new cleats on. I don't know if you saw. I saw a whole video on these new cleats. He's not wearing Jordans anymore. He's done wearing Jordans. He has a special insert that goes into his cleat now for his foot. He also has a carbon fiber insert in between the cleat itself, like the top of the shoe and the bottom of the shoe, the sole of the shoe. He's got a carbon fiber insert that doesn't allow his foot to get bent on the turf. So
that is wild.
Look, whatever it takes at this point, right? Like whatever it takes.
I think when you've had, what was this? Probably his 3rd major injury. And you're sitting there watching week after week and watching Flacco do his thing. You're also like, I got to stay healthy. And staying healthy means not taking those hits. I mean, you've got to do your best to avoid it. And if that means getting rid of it earlier and looking, to hit guys quicker in routes or shorter routes or whatever. I mean, he had good hookups with Chase. I even if it's just a subtle change. But I would think if I sit around from early September to now and I'm missing out, and it's like, here's something, if there's one thing you can do to stay healthy, because it is a crapshoot, but there is one thing a quarterback can do, and that is avoid the hits. And maybe that's something he's been thinking about. It's like, you know what? Yeah, okay, maybe I'm injury prone, but maybe some of that is on me too. Trying to make too much happen, trying to extend plays too many times. Roethlisberger did that for years, but that guy was a tank. You couldn't hurt him with an anvil. Joe's just not built that way. He's a big guy, but Roethlisberger was, once in a lifetime kind of dude that didn't get hurt and took hits and extended plays. And so maybe he thought about that some too, that, I need to do my best not to take these kind of hits and not get in the middle of these piles where 10 guys are jumping on me.
Didn't Roethlisberger hit a brick wall riding a motorcycle and it still was fine?
Yeah, he hit something. He hit a car or something. Yeah, and he was fine. that guy's career was amazing. And just the way he, didn't play quarterback until he was a senior in high school because the coach's son was the quarterback. You got Ben Roethlisberger on your high school football team, and he's playing tight end. That's how Miami got him. They saw him at a summer camp and knew what this dude could do as a quarterback. So they recruited his ass hard out of Findlay High School, and they went after him. And then by the time everybody else came in, because his senior year, he played quarterback, and it was very apparent halfway through the season this dude was a bona fide stud. And, you can hate Ben all you want, but he stayed true to Miami and said, I committed to them. He committed to Terry Hepner, and he made good on that commitment. And the rest is history. It sure didn't keep him going to Miami and playing the MAC, did not keep him from being a great NFL player.
He's still a jackass.
That's a lot of people say that. I'm not disputing that, but boy, he was a player.
That said, the Bengals now sit at 4-8. They're 2 games back now on your 6-6 Baltimore Ravens and your 6-6.
So are you excited about this? Are you interested now? Because the Ravens and Steelers play each other twice.
It's intriguing. How is it not? How could it not be intriguing? And if you can somehow surge your way into the playoffs after the season that you have had, just simply on the back of Joe Burrow, how do you bet against Joe Burrow in the playoffs?
I'll tell you, I just don't think it'll happen. I mean, they got a tough game this week. Buffalo's defense is playing really, really well. Boy, they made the Steelers look bad. And I think the Steelers are bad, but they made them look bad on Sunday.
Josh Allen's been a little off over the course of the last roughly, 3 weeks, I think, if I can remember my fantasy football scores correctly. But he's been a little off.
He has had some things that aren't like him, but they've run the hell out of the ball, which is
if you go back to the game against the Miami Dolphins, they lost to the Miami Dolphins. So if this defense, if Cincinnati's defense can take this game, a guy like Joseph Osai, look, we did not expect that kind of game out of Joseph Osai, and he played one of those guys playing out of his mind. Demetrius Knight, another guy who you see the guys doing their intros on Thursday Night Football on Thanksgiving, and at the very bottom it says, but between him and our other linebacker, you see 82 of 83 ranked linebackers on PFF, and the other linebacker 83 of 83 on PFF.
Right,
and you can't feel good about that, but here they are making the plays. Demetrius Knight gets the interception. He also had a pass defense, I believe. So again, they're making plays, and you got to think that Joe Burrow coming back, there's just a little. He sprinkles a little magic dust. Maybe
I'm going to be intrigued because the Bengals. Well, so
maybe he's got the water bottle.
Finish 9-8, right?
Maybe he's got the water bottle Michael Jordan style on Space Jam, where it's MJ special stuff. Well, this is Joe Burrow's special stuff. I don't know what's going on with them, that they just show up.
Well, the most likely loss for the Bengals on the schedule is coming up Sunday. It's at Buffalo, right?
Yes.
Because then you got the Ravens at home. You just bitch slap them, so you got to think the Bengals will be feeling good about that game. It's winnable. Let's just say that. Sure. At the Dolphins is winnable, although they've won 3 in a row now. So maybe they've come back to life. How, I don't know, but they are playing better. The Cardinals, they'll beat them here at Paycor, and then you got the Browns. So if they can get over the hump Sunday, they got a shot. As crazy as it sounds, now somebody's got to drop a couple, and the Bengals are 3-1 in the division. They have the best division record right now.
Crazy.
I know. I'm looking and I'm like, well, tiebreakers. Well, and it's like, holy God, that's right. They've got 3 division wins and just 1 loss. And They have the Ravens and Browns to go, but I feel pretty good about both of those because they're here in Cincinnati. So we'll see if they can get it done. And then you got to get help. And, the Steelers and Ravens play each other twice. So they probably need to split those games. But the Ravens do not have a picnic down the stretch on their schedule. They got Pittsburgh in Baltimore coming up. Then they come to Cincinnati. Then they got the Patriots at home. Then they're at the Packers. Then they're at Pittsburgh to end the season.
That's a gauntlet.
Well, the Steelers still have to, they go to Pittsburgh. Then they got the Dolphins at home. Then they have to go to Detroit. So you gotta think the Lions are probably going to win that. Then they go to the Browns, and that doesn't look good because the Browns' offense is just kind of wonky right now. I mean,
Shadur, it's Shadur season. We gotta root.
It hasn't exactly captured my imagination yet. Now that doesn't mean he's never going to pan out, but they're just, let's face it, they're on their third guy this season, or is it fourth? I mean, hell, one of them here in Cincinnati. It's just crazy.
Third. It's third. We'll see. We'll see how it goes down. I don't know. There's obviously still a chance, but I want to get back to that Trey Hendrickson stuff. And we had Zach Taylor at the podium, and he was asked if he's been out there, if he's been at the meet. First off, he's still listed day to day. He's not been put on IR. They never discussed putting him on IR, although it's been 4 weeks now at this point since Trey Hendrickson has played a game. We don't know what's really going on with him. I guess. He has not been in the meetings, as Zach Taylor was pretty much answering everything on autopilot, not going much into depth, answering very quickly on these questions. He looked uncomfortable answering these questions, and trying to move off the subject as quickly as possible. What did you make of any of that? I'm sure you saw it.
I just feel like there's an issue there. I think somebody's really raw about this franchise tag, and I hate to think that, but what is going on? What's it look like to you? It looks to me like the dude's just kind of done here in Cincinnati.
Not been going to meetings. He's only been working with the rehab team. I would, if at the end of the day, if you are trying to play for your next contract, do you want to be the guy who sits out half the season on injury?
No.
Injury, quote unquote.
That's where I'm at. I mean, I think that's what's going on. I know it's not a good look, but you know how the NFL is. You need pass rushers, and those guys are making the most money now, pretty much outside of quarterbacks of any position, and they're coveted.
And you also have Joe Burrow back, who was injured himself. He's playing through a season where people said he shouldn't come back.
Right.
He championed you coming back if you're Trey Hendrickson, and he made sure he got his guys back here. You still got paid. Let's not pretend that you're playing for peanuts this season. You still got paid.
Right.
And if he's able to, I don't know, start coupling some of these wins stringing some of these wins together, are you going to continue to be the guy who's sitting out a team who's playing for their playoff lives if you're able to get 2 or 3 of these next couple of games? Are you going to actually still sit out? And if you make the playoffs, are you going to keep sitting out? If you make the AFC Championship, are you still going to be sitting out because you're worried about getting paid next year?
I think that would be an abomination, and I don't know that it'll come to that, but I know this: if I'm on that team and I'm out there busting my butt at this point in the season, like those guys were when Burrow, even before he was back, and that guy's just cashing it in, I mean, that's not a leader. That's not a guy you want to go to war with. I'm sorry, it just isn't, and I don't know that that's for sure the case. But if it is, and then think of your Joe Burrow and the stuff he said about coming back, and just how he gets paid to play football. He gets paid. People expect to see him in the game if he's healthy. And by golly, your teammates expect to see you in the game because they are. I mean, it's like if they would have held Joe Burrow out, does that mean every healthy starter that has value next season should be sitting out? Well, then you got nobody on the field. So, I mean, it's just stupid. It's just, I mean, Joe Burrow should be playing if he can play, and I'm glad he did. I'm glad he didn't play that game and say, yeah, I'm just going to get ready for next year. That dude busted his butt to get back as soon as he could this year. He got back sooner than anyone thought he would. And he's out there playing in games that now all of a sudden might have some meaning to him.
And it's extremely hard to wonder if you're Trey Hendrickson, and if nothing is actually wrong, there very well could be something wrong. But right now, there's too much smoke around this entire situation that nothing about it feels right. And if there indeed is nothing wrong, nothing actually really wrong, how are you just letting everybody else go out and play while you're still collecting a big fat paycheck?
I know. I just, it's not a pretty deal if that is what is going on. And I gotta think somebody's going to crack at some point and spill the beans if indeed that is what's going on. In fact, I'm surprised if that's what's going on that it's not known yet, because like you said, there's so much smoke. There's gotta be beat guys and other guys are close to that team that know what's going on there.
Even if you're Trey, why are you not? He's not been shy about getting in front of the microphone at certain times, especially when people are saying negative things in the media about him. And we're not the only ones talking. Everybody in Cincinnati media is talking about this at this point.
Right. It's not a good look for him. It's really, really not a good. I mean, it's not good to quit on your team. And look, he probably had some sort of injury, but was it serious enough to still be out? I've heard some stuff myself, and I don't like what I've heard. Let's put it that way.
Time will tell. I imagine I'm with you. I think something's got to give. Somebody's going to say something, or you'll have subtle shots from guys on the mic after the next game, especially if they win and he's still not out there, and you just wonder where your leadership guys are supposed to be. They should be out there leading the team. And if I don't know, I don't know what to make of any of it.
Well, hopefully Joseph Asai just keeps getting after it like he has, because he has shown flashes in the past. And I know
Miles Murphy too.
He's played better. And you expect them to, and I felt so bad for. I've always rooted for Osai. I felt so bad for him for what happened in Kansas City that one year with Mahomes, and just how, oh my God, that was such a, oh God, that call was just maddening. But you can't do it. But he's a lot better player than that, and he showed it this past Thursday, and I hope he continues to.
I agree. We'll see what happens. As like you said, they got Buffalo coming up here, and
here's a question: are 8 wins enough to win the division?
Right now, maybe.
I know, isn't that crazy? It could happen.
Roll it out.
The Bengals can get to 8 without too much imagination. They can get to 8 wins.
Yeah, Buffalo's favored 5.5 for that kickoff at 1:00 on Fox.
Cincinnati, and let's put it this way: if they do get 8 wins and the Bills are the loss, they're going to end up they'll be 5-1 in the division. So they'll win that tiebreaker.
That'd be incredible.
It would be so incredible. That would be so improbable.
What a weird thing. And of course, at that point, Zach Taylor would probably play himself into another contract extension. So who knows?
You got that right.
Anyway, we had some stuff if we had time to get to it on the Reds. Nothing doing. It's a whole lot of, can the Reds potentially bring Kyle Schwarber home? There's some scenarios where you give him a 4-year deal and then you give him money after he's not here in a way that they've done it with some other guys in the past. Ken Griffey Jr., probably most notably, where you have the deferred money.
And Kyle can't. he can give a hometown discount. I think he would. I just, there's something going on. There's just too much around that I think he would. Are the Reds going to pony up enough? You don't want to take a complete haircut, but I think he'll take some off the top to play in Cincinnati. And my God, that would be a jolt they could use. It doesn't guarantee playoffs or anything else, but boy, you may as well go out and get one of, if not the biggest thumper out there for the middle of your lineup, if that's what you need.
And how much better does that make Ellie De La Cruz or whoever's batting around him? Time will tell. We'll see what they do with that. I'm not sure if you do that, if you're able to financially afford to keep some of your other pieces like a Brady Singer potentially or a Hunter Green. We'll see.
They got to find a way. They got to find a way. Easy for me to say, but daggone it, there's got to be creative ways to do this and draw some other people in. I mean, I don't know what the Reds do to raise money, but they got to do something.
You've got like 40 owners. You can't tell me that they have money. I'm not buying this. We're poor. Get out of here. You just don't want to cut into your profits.
Right.
Anyway, nothing doing with FCC because, anything after the first round is only a 1-game playoff for reasons I'll never understand for the rest of my life. What's going on in the world of high school sports, George?
Well, we got a couple of local teams playing for state championships this weekend. St. X in Division I, Ohio plays Friday night against Lewis Center, Olentangy Orange. So there's
up in Canton.
Up in Canton, yes. And Olentangy Orange 14-0, X 11-2. St. X's defense was so good and has been playing so well. And that's kind of been a mark of Specs teams. Coach Specs teams has been just lights out defense, and they're playing that right now. And also in Division II, Anderson playing Thursday night against Avon, and Anderson 14-0, Avon 13-1, and Kentucky. Nobody in the state championships this time around. Beechwood, Lloyd, and Ryle all coming up short in the state semifinals, but nonetheless, a lot of good football was played around here this season, and Cincinnati with chance to win state titles in the top 2 divisions in Ohio. So that would be a good year for local football.
It'll be interesting to see what the Mueller quarterback does with the coaching change down in Kentucky.
Yep, that's going to be interesting, and it's just going to, a lot of that too, depending on what they decide to do at the major league level at the draft, because that kid may be too good for them to, pass on this time around, let him go to college. Someone might throw a boatload of loot at him and take him in the first round, but we'll see.
Again, one of those
good
things.
Problem for the young man to have.
Yeah, that's not.
Sounds
dreadful.
I would have loved to have been trying to make that decision. Do I go play college football and baseball, or do I just go straight to pro baseball?
And now you can make money at any of those levels. So
yeah, depending on
NIL dollars,
he's going to make it one way or the other. But yeah,
in any case, that's going to wrap things up here for us on George in the Jungle. Thanks to all of those who joined us live on the show. Thanks to all of those of you who listened to the podcast. Thanks to Cincy Light or the studios. Thanks to Remington Tavern for sponsoring our show. You can find them at 8892 Glendale Milford Road, 45140, where they have their daily happy hour from 3 to 7 p.m., $5 bourbon whiskey Wednesdays, bottle cap bonanza Thursdays from 7 to 9 p.m. You can check them out on Instagram at RemyTavCincy or follow them on Facebook. But for George Vogel, I'm Aaron Smith. We will be back here next Tuesday to discuss all of your Cincinnati sports.
Thank you, Aaron.